Video you're going to learn about heart, how the internal structure of the heart look like. Then you're going to know that how many chambers the heart has been divided. The human heart, if you look at this, is divided into 4 chambers. So upper 2 chambers are known as atria, right and left atria. The lower chambers are known as right and left ventricle. The upper chamber is separated from the lower chamber through a valve which allows only one-way entry of the blood, and this valve is known as tricuspid valve. The right side of the heart is separated by tricuspid valve. The left side of the heart, which is left atrium, is separated from the left ventricle through a valve which is known as mitral valve. So this is the mitral valve. Similarly, there are other 2 valves which are located from the right ventricle, which leads to the passage of lungs, which is known as the pulmonary artery. This is the pulmonary artery which divides into each lung, is separated through a valve. This is known as pulmonary valve. Similarly, the left atrium and the ventricle is separated by a mitral valve. The left ventricle passes the blood through the aorta. This is separated by a valve which is known as aortic valve. So there are 4 valves and 4 chambered heart. Per minute nearly there is 60 to 80 times there is a heart rate or the pulse you can find out. Now how do you know this? You can find this out through the stethoscope. This is also known as the pulse rate of blood, how exactly the heart works. The upper chamber of the heart we know are known as atria. They are going to act as a receiving chamber which is going to receive the blood, and the lower chambers are known as ventricles, the dispersing unit. So here you can see that the blood is entering into the heart through the superior vena cava from upper part of the body and through inferior vena cava from the lower part of the body into this chamber which we call as right atrium. From here it is passed on to the ventricle which is known as right ventricle through a valve, tricuspid valve. Once the blood is in the right ventricle, it is pushed to the lungs through a artery known as pulmonary artery, and this is guarded by pulmonary valve. Okay. So now once the blood enters pulmonary artery, it branches into 2, each entering into right and left lung. Okay. Here it gets oxygenated. Oxygenation, it is back into the heart through pulmonary vein. So from here it enters left atrium. So the blood which has entered is oxygenated blood or the pure blood, which is passed through this left ventricle through bicuspid valve. Now oxygen rich blood will further be pumped out of the body through aorta. This is the main artery which distributes blood through all the parts of the body, that is guarded by aortic valve. So the contraction of ventricles will push the blood out of the ventricle into the arteries where it distributes to different parts of the body. So all the valves are one-way entry. They prevent the backflow of the blood. Now let us summarize what we have learnt. The blood from the right ventricle is pushed through the pulmonary artery to the lungs. Contraction of right ventricle pushes the blood through the pulmonary artery via the pulmonary valve into the lungs, where each artery enters into right lung and the left lung. So here the blood gets oxygenated, which gives CO2 to the lungs and take in O2 inside. Now this oxygen rich blood from the lungs, the blood is going to enter the heart to the left atrium, okay, via the valve, mitral valve, into the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, as this ventricle contracts, the blood is pushed into the aorta, which is the largest artery. It then passes the pure oxygenated blood into the upper part of the body like head, shoulders and brain. Then it also transports it to the lower part of the body through the digestive system, different organs and the limb region. In each of this tissue, the nutrients get exchanged for oxygen. CO2 is picked up from the cell back into the blood, and this combine to form veins. The impure blood together they get collected and they all drain into one tube-like structure, what we call as veins, and this veins together bring back the impure blood from all the parts of the body, from upper part of the body and the lower part of the body, into the right side of the heart, that is right atrium, and again this cycle continues.